Hello and welcome to the Ended Up in Vegas podcast. I'm Nikki.
I'm Megan.
Today's guest with us is a 9-time Sugar Ray concert attendee. At least that's what his Instagram bio says. But he's actually a very accomplished writer in Las Vegas, knows all the good spots. Jason Latham, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tell us how you ended up in Vegas.
Well, let's see. It's going to start a long time ago.
Yeah.
I came from a TV news background, just like Nikki. And the way it works, or at least I think the way it used to work, was you get out of college, you start in your first market in TV news, which is a smaller market, and you kind of move up every level. When I was in college, I did a couple of internships at stations in my hometown of Rochester, New York. That's where I started the NBC affiliate after graduation. So I did about a year there. Then it was time, I wanted to move up and I wanted to move west. I applied to 3 different markets, Palm Springs, Tucson, and Las Vegas. Las Vegas is actually the biggest of all 3, and that's where I ended up.
Yeah. So we met as news producers at the NBC affiliate in Las Vegas, and then we ended up working together at the Fox affiliate, and then you left news and I left news.
Yeah.
So tell us what you're doing now.
Now I do write. I'm a freelance writer, and I work with a company that does digital syndication and fast channels. Those are streaming channels. So what we do is we build these channels and we program them. So I program a couple of our channels. One of them is a classic television channel called Best TV Ever. The other one's more of an action-focused channel called Action, where I get to run all these, kung fu movies and cult action flicks, things like that. I love that stuff.
Yeah, we'll talk about Jason's love for movies and music in a little bit. But as far as coming to Las Vegas goes, could you have ever imagined that you would end up living here and having a family here?
No, this was not my first choice destination. When I was growing up in Rochester, I was really obsessed with living on the coast. Getting to California is because I spent so much time watching MTV, MTV Beach House or whatever, Real World or whatever the hell they were doing out in Southern California. Yeah. And all I ever wanted to do was be out there. And I think it was probably around the time that I moved out here, Las Vegas was kind of having one of its moments in the national spotlight. And there were a few, big kind of high-profile movies where Las Vegas was featured. Ocean's 11, probably the biggest one at that time. And I thought, hey, this could be a fun, interesting kind of place to live. And it also seemed like kind of place where I could just do whatever I wanted. So I chose that. And I thought about, hey, maybe I could keep moving up and I could go to LA or something like that. But when you get here, if it's right for you and you're a good fit, you don't want to leave, really. It's comfortable. It's easy to live here, is what I always say. It's really easy to live here. You can zip around town. There's a little bit more construction than there used to be back in that day, but it's always changing. It's always evolving, and I think that's what I love the most about it. That's what I loved working in news. Here we were always following things, developing the city, things that were popping up and all over the places. I always got excited about those kind of things, about new casinos or a new development, a new restaurant, those kind of things.
So I don't want to date you, but how long have you been here?
So I've been here 22 years.
Okay.
Discount 2 years that I was away. We moved when I left news in Las Vegas. We went to Seattle for a year and did news there, and then went to San Diego. And I got out of news and I started to work in marketing.
Okay.
And so we were gone for 2 years, and then my wife got offered a job back here. She was vice president of PR for Venetian Palazzo.
Okay.
And that was 2016. And that's when we came back. So we've been back since then.
Very nice. So about the same amount of time as me, because I moved here in 2000.
Yeah.
So similar, yeah.
Where'd you come from?
California.
Which part?
The high desert.
I'm going to pretend like I've been there. Sure.
Yeah.
What's the highlight of the high desert?
I don't know that
desert. It doesn't exist.
Not sure I want to publicize this on camera, but it is a small little desert town outside of LA.
Well, what's the name of it?
Palmdale.
Okay. I mean, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I can't say that I've stopped there, but.
Yeah. My plan was to move to the beach also.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And here we are in the desert.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like a common thread of, a lot of the guests that we've had on, and we ourselves like can speak to this, is that we met someone here, we settled down, we had a family. You did the same.
Yeah.
Tell us about your family.
Well, there was a thing about a year or so after I moved here, my wife Alyssa moved to town, and just like Nikki said, we met and we fell in love and we decided to stay, and we had our daughter in 2012, so she's 10 now, and we decided to raise her here too.
Yeah.
And it's going good.
So when you first came here, did you think like, okay, I'll be here? How long did you think you would stay?
I didn't put a number on it.
Okay.
I really didn't. When you get into news, you have to sign these contracts sometimes, and I'm not sure if it's the same as it has been back in the day, or it was. So it was a 2-year deal. And so I thought, okay, in 2 years, maybe, I'll move up or something like that. But like the minute I got here, actually, when I first got here, I was doing overnights. I was producing an hour-long 5 a.m. newscast. So I'd go into Channel 3 at 10 o'clock at night and then produce that newscast. But then as soon as I got off it, then I was like fully into the city. Because when you're doing an overnight shift, it was different. Like I didn't know anybody, which was it was actually good that I was doing that shift when I first moved here because I didn't know anybody, and I just sleep till about the middle of the day. And there was not a whole lot to do. But then once I moved, I think I moved to the weekend shift, and then it got wild.
Wasn't that the worst shift ever?
The overnight?
Yeah.
I only say that, it was kind of brutal, but since I didn't know anybody, I was not missing out on anything, and I didn't even do it for a full year. So, but I would never want to do it again.
Yeah, no, it was brutal to me. Like I would literally be like playing music while producing the news, and Nora Jones would come on, and I'd be like, nope, skip, sorry, we can't do you today, Nora. You're going to put us to sleep.
Yeah, you can't stay awake.
So when we met at Channel 3, we had a group of people who it was a phenomenal group.
Yeah.
And we're like family now. So, I mean, I didn't get a husband out of it, but you got a wife out of it. Tell us a little bit about Alyssa and the past few years of, how everything has transpired since she has passed.
Yeah. Well, Alyssa was diagnosed with cancer in 2020 at the very beginning of the pandemic. It was actually, it was like the day that things started to shut down. And she passed in November of that year. So it was a tough year. Because of the pandemic, we wouldn't have been out anyway. But it made it harder because her cancer, she couldn't be around. We could not take any risk of her getting sick. So it was so tough. I mean, it had to be impossible for her, to spend that last year not being able to be around that many people. Fortunately, we had my mother-in-law came to live with us that year, and that was fantastic. And our daughter, Lola, as well. So it was like the four of us for a year. But yeah, it was tough after losing her. And then to go, what was it, maybe another half year of, masked up, stay indoors, pandemic, virtual learning for Lola, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was still difficult. So we didn't really come out of everything until, mid to late 2021 for her and I. And it was really like being gone for a year and a half, a little bit.
Yeah. So. When you look back on that time, do you think it was a blessing to be at home with just them for that year? Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. We never in a million years thought that Alyssa was going to take that turn. She worked, through the whole year, and so did I, just from home. It was good. It was good to have us all there. I suppose in the worst case scenario, that was the best thing that you could ask for. But it was very difficult when she would have to leave town. She'd have to go to LA constantly for a treatment or to see her doctors and have meetings with her doctors and stuff. She would have to either go by herself or she'd go with her mom, and then I'd stay with Lola. It just had to be so hard for her to go through a lot of that stuff alone. So
yeah. Well, Lola is the greatest thing that you guys could have done together. Tell us about raising her, and does she think you're the cool dad or the embarrassing dad?
Does she think that?
Yeah.
You know what? I think in a lot of ways she does think I am cool because we get each other so much, and she is very much into a lot of the same things I am. And since I'm into just, movies and music and just all sorts of stuff like that, she is on board with all of it. And we watch a lot of the same things together. And I encourage a lot of the stuff that she's into. She's really big into anime and manga, and I'm not, but I'm like, yeah, have at it. You wanted this book or something like that, you should definitely read that, get into that.
Yeah, I think Megan laughed because I think Izzy, her daughter, would be good friends with Lola.
Yeah, I have an 11-year-old and she's obsessed with all things Japanese. She's learning Japanese on her own. She's not as much in the anime, a little bit, but she's into Pokemon, and she's it's funny how they latch onto something and they go all the way, and it's fun.
It's true. Yeah, Lola this week was talking about, I want to live in Japan.
Oh my gosh. That's Izzy. She told me a year ago, she's like, I'm never getting married. I'm moving to Japan. I'm going to have a bunch of cats. I was like, okay, I think you're a little young to make that kind of life decision, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think that's cool. Yeah, they probably would get along because Lola loves that kind of stuff. She's, I mean, if I started naming them off, Demon Slayer, and, oh gosh, what are some of the Promised Neverland, all these things that she loves, all these animes that she loves.
Yeah.
So it's wild. As far as like being embarrassing, when we walk around, she'll still hold my hand when we go to places and stuff like that. So I think I'm cool in that way. But there are those times where I can sense she's a little embarrassed. If I drop her off at school or somewhere where a lot of her friends are right there, she'll want to get out of the car and be, okay, I get it. I can go. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good, Dad. I'm good.
Yeah.
And so then like it just kicks in for me to make it harder for her. And I'm like, okay, bye, Lola Latham. I love you. I love you the most. Did you hear me, baby? I said I love you. And I will do that. And, it'll drive her nuts.
I love it. I think that's our right. They embarrassed us for the first, at least 5 years of their lives. We should get to embarrass them for the rest of theirs.
I agree.
Yeah, well, she hopefully will think I'm cool forever. I don't want her to be think I'm super embarrassed. When she's a teenager, I'm sure it'll be challenging. But right now, it's fun.
Well, she caught you the other day singing in the kitchen and recorded you and posted it for everyone to enjoy. So, and she could seem to she was getting a good kick out of it. So
she does. I'll do that. I'll sing around the house all the time.
Megan walked into Izzy's room one day, and what was she playing on the piano that you were like, that sounds familiar? Do you want to admit this on the podcast? I just made you admit
What's the name of the song? It's I can't even think of who it is, but it's like, somebody come get her. She's acting like a stripper.
Wait, what song?
It was like da 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 da. And then Megan's like, "Wait a minute."
I wasn't even in her room. I was in another part of the house or in my room, and I was like, a few minutes later, I was like humming it in my head because it was a bit of an earworm, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, were you just playing?" It's a rap song.
Yeah.
Like, somebody come get her. She's dancing like a stripper. And I was like,
Wait, that was great.
I've either taken a right or wrong turn somewhere.
We're going to get a Grammy for this right now. Okay, Jason, tell us about your playlists. You are so on, you're on the music train all the time. Jason makes playlists for date nights or random things like holidays. Where do you get this
normal
ambition?
Everybody doesn't do that.
I would think everybody do that. No, and I'm not some sort of, I don't know everything about music and stuff like that. I'm still discovering a lot of music, but I used to make mixtapes, and then it turned into mix CDs, and now you make mix playlists. I think that the thing that Nikki's kind of referring to is last year I started doing it monthly. I started putting out a playlist every month, and I would just put the link up on my Instagram story. And I would find a different theme for each month. And then this year I kind of started to do it again. I've done a couple of them and released them, but I really just need to feel inspired to have an idea or to hear a song that just blows my mind. And I think to myself, I'm going to build an entire playlist around this. And it could be a new song. It could be an older song. Mostly I'm still discovering a lot of stuff that I might have missed back in the day. So I don't know a ton of the new music, which, that happens.
So tell us genres or artists that you're listening to.
Okay. Well, as I was pulling up, I was listening to Billy Ocean before I got here.
Okay.
That's one. I love Billy Ocean. Big Billy Ocean fan. I'm a big genre-wise. The synthwave genre is one that I'm really into, and that is just like it sounds. It's like kind of 80s inspired synth music. There are a lot of new artists these days that are doing that kind of thing, and I'll just drop a few of them that I love. There's a couple in the UK that I love. There's an artist named Sunglasses Kid. I'm a big fan of his stuff. A guy named Ollie Ride, who it's also kind of pop. Sometimes the artists, you can't just box them into the one genre, but they go from back and forth. I love Ollie Ride, and he's actually coming to LA next month, and I'm going to go see him for the first time. The Midnight, that's another band that really kind of blew up, and they have a lot of, I would say, in the mainstream fans that kind of broken out of just that particular genre. So I love them. I could just keep going. More.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me.
Yeah. And don't you think music is so personal?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's interesting what people gravitate to.
Yeah. I switch all the time. I'm switching between like what I'm listening to. And I can't really function unless I have music going on. Like I will work. This started when I was producing. We sit there and we put headphones in our ears because we have to drown out all the rest of the noise of the newsroom.
Yeah.
And so I can't work without something going on in my ears. It's not a distraction for me.
Even if there's lyrics?
Even if there's lyrics.
Interesting.
And I'll listen to a lot of scores.
Okay.
I listen to a lot of movie scores.
Yeah.
That's actually where my kind of music collection started, was soundtracks when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because soundtracks, they always had, all the songs were good. If they were in the movie, they were all good. And I like music that takes you back to a certain point in your life, just an instant memory that you can draw from. Or if you get a new song that just kind of blows your mind and then you can't stop listening to it and you just start to build new memories around it. What was the last song that you heard that just blew your mind? And it doesn't even have to be new or old, but it's new. It's the first time you heard it.
Blew my mind. That's a big expectation.
Yeah, I'd have to think on that one for a minute.
I mean, I feel like I really like Harry Styles' album. Like when it came out, I was like, all right, I'm digging this. Do you like Harry Styles?
Harold Styles, yes.
Harold Styles.
I do actually. Yeah, there's a couple. And what's the newer one? Was that Adore You? That's recent. Am I getting the name of the song?
I think, is that on the new album or on the old one?
That's the last one.
Yeah.
Not the most current, but the one before.
No, that's a good song.
That was a good album too.
You know what? I would say that what was Sushi Bar, that song?
Yeah.
That one blew my mind.
The whole thing. It's just fun.
Music
fun
from a sushi bar?
I don't know it.
Yeah. And that song, I was like, what?
Yeah.
There's some really crazy stuff out there. I tend to gravitate a little more to like house and electronic music.
Uh-huh.
And that's fun. And I've recently, in the last year, gotten into like focus music. So there's different composers or different like electronic music that doesn't have any lyrics. And it's really good for just like hyper focusing on what you're doing and tuning everything else out. So
give me a couple of artists.
Sid Akaraya is an artist out of, I think he's from like New Zealand or Australia.
Okay.
There's a guy, Michael FK, I think, he's somewhere in Europe. Just these obscure different artists and they put up their own music and they just self-produce and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think what's great these days is that if you're working, you can work independently and you can still get a following.
Yeah.
Because you just drop it on SoundCloud or
exactly.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
Do you go to a lot of concerts in Vegas?
Try. I like to be up front. Mm-hmm. So I don't go to a lot of shows that are, T-Mobile or something like that. I mean, I've been to them, but I really prefer to go to a venue where I can like stand in the front row. I'm trying to think the most recent one that I might not have been to a concert in a minute. No. I saw the Midnight a few months back, but that was in the fall. I don't know. It starts to become a blur.
Yeah.
I've seen so many.
What's your favorite venue for a concert in Las Vegas?
Right now, it's probably Brooklyn Bowl. And I'll be right up there in the front and ride the rails on that. And I've done that with quite a few shows there. Mm-hmm. House of Blues, I did that for many, many years. Boy, we used a lot of shows at House of Blues. You know what? I say SLS, as it was at the time. They had that place, it was called the Foundry.
Uh-huh.
And then for a minute there, they had like really good shows coming up back to back to back to back. And artists that I love that are kind of a little bit older now, but I remember I saw Bush there and I saw Garbage there, kind of I think in the same year.
What do you think, like your favorite headliner that you've ever seen in Vegas? What's your favorite show?
My favorite show that ever happened in Vegas was 2010 New Year's Eve Cosmopolitan grand opening.
Okay.
That was the best show that's ever happened in the history of the city. It was Jay-Z and Coldplay.
Ugh.
But I think Coldplay came out first, and then all of a sudden Beyonce appears.
Oh
Oh.
my gosh.
And then you notice that like John Mayer is up there.
Oh my gosh.
Because he just is.
Yeah.
And then it was John Mayer, right? And then Jay-Z's doing his thing and Run This Town. And then Kanye West comes out. And it's 2010 Kanye West.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not
Right.
like crazy, what he's into now, a MAGA Kanye West. And that just blew the roof off the place. And it was a big VIP party too. So there were a lot of celebrities and stuff like that. So it, made it a little extra memorable.
Wow.
But there is somebody's phone videos on YouTube somewhere of Kanye West coming out during that song, and the crowd went insane.
Yeah.
So that was the best show I ever saw in this town.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Was there an element of surprise to it because you didn't know who was coming out?
No idea.
Yeah,
you just knew it was Jay-Z and Coldplay, and then in the back of your mind, you're like, "Oh, I wonder if Beyonce's here."
Yeah.
But the Kanye thing, and Alyssa told me later on, they arranged to get Kanye West there like the very last minute, sent a plane or something like that afternoon.
As far as what you're doing professionally now, like what are some things that link you to like the history of our city and that you would want people to know about?
They link me to the history of the city there. That's interesting. Well, I do hang out in a lot of places that we would say are old school,
Yeah.
or at least trying to be old school. And a lot of those are downtown. Mm-hmm. And that actually goes to where I live too. Where I live in this neighborhood. It's called McNeil Estates.
Okay.
And so
Very
it's
famous neighborhood for
Yeah.
anybody who doesn't live in Las Vegas, doesn't know McNeil Estates.
Yeah. So what is it? Oakey and Rancho, Oakey and Charleston. So these are homes that were built. I think it started in the 50s, but then more 60s and 70s. Mine is from like 1971, and they are like the old school Rat Pack era homes.
Ranch style, very, very 50s and 60s.
Yeah, mid-century,
Yes.
yards, grass.
Really big lots.
Yeah.
A lot of space. Yeah, we did have a lot of grass. I replaced the grass on the side yard with artificial a couple of years back. But yeah, really big space. And our house, it's just Lola and I now, but it's a big house, and it's got the best part about it is it's got privacy. And I think that's something that you don't get everywhere in town. But our backyard is amazing because it's higher than the people that we're, I would say behind us.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody can see in that way. And then the same with the neighbors. Somebody can see and the house goes around so the other neighbor can't see. So it's completely private.
That's
pool.
awesome.
I mean, you can walk around there and do anything you want, and I have. And I've got a big, windows that face out on the pool. And out in the pool, I built this, it's called Aquamansion. It's this kind of retreat cabana thing that's right there at the end of the pool where I could
so
just
cool.
chill out. And I love that.
Is there a cover charge? Because we might want to.
I turned it into a day club. I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to say that it's got a cool name. I always wanted to say that there's, there's a weekend party going on there. I think that those older neighborhoods are, they have the character that people are looking for. For me, they also have the privacy. The privacy. This is the coolest thing about my house. I built a window into my shower because the bathroom wall faced the backyard.
Uh-huh.
So cut out a big, giant 6-foot window in my shower. Nobody can see in. Can't see in during the day because it's kind of mirrored glass. Can't see in at night.
Nice.
It's fantastic. I love it.
I love that area. I've sold a couple houses in McNeil, and I like to go, the kids and I will, and during the holidays, we'll go drive Christmas decorations. And I love to go down there near Scotch 80s, and some of those houses are so cool.
Yeah.
What they really do.
Around the holidays. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fantastic place to kind of tour around. And I think people just love driving around and seeing those old houses. If I ever get an Uber out of the house, if I'm going out to dinner or something like that, drivers they'll say, "Oh my God, I didn't know this neighborhood was here, or this neighborhood's really nice. I like all these old homes."
Yeah.
And the first house that we ever bought here in town, Alyssa and I, this was back in 2010, was in Paradise Palms, which is a neighborhood that's about DI and Maryland Parkway. And it's really, those are older homes. Those are all 50s and 60s, and some of them, still need to get spruced up. But people come in, they really take good care of them. They really want them to look and feel like they used to, the colors and all the design features that they put into them.
Yeah. So when it comes to historic spots around your house, like Huntridge just reopened, like tell us some of the places that you love to go on a regular basis or that you know about in Vegas that are cool happening spots that bring back that old Vegas feel.
There's one that recently opened, and this is a place I've been to a few times, so I'll give them the plug. It's Vic's over at, it's across from Discovery Children's Center. It's down in Symphony Park.
Okay.
Really cool. It's like a jazz restaurant bar.
Oh, okay.
And they have a live jazz band, and they switch them out all the time. They're different people, and that's in the restaurant section. They have a really good bar, and then they have a kind of a nice lounge area. Mm-hmm. And not too many people know about it yet, and so I shouldn't have said anything. But yeah, I'll just go down there and you just hang out, and it feels old school. Some of the other kind of old school places that popped up are really more kind of new school. If those places on Fremont Street and the places we used to hang around at back in the day.
Yeah.
Like Downtown Cocktail Room or the Griffin and stuff. I haven't been to the Griffin in a long time, but those places were good back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Where are some of the spots that you've covered recently as far as restaurants go that would be on your recommendation list for people?
Let's see. Oh gosh, I had dinner at Cathedral last weekend. Is it Aria? It's a new place.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
High recommend. If you're out in Summerlin, out in the suburbs, La Strega.
Okay. Been there.
Love there. Going there very soon. Pomodoro is like my favorite thing to eat in this town. And let's see. Downtown on Main Street Provisions.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a great place. Where else will I eat? I don't know. I bounce around.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite of the food genres?
Of the food genres? Seafood.
Okay.
Because, I'm pescatarian.
Okay.
And so, if it's a seafood place, I'll get into that.
Okay.
Oh, actually, you know what? The best place I love to go that's old school is Golden Steer.
Really?
Yeah, it's just right around the corner from where I live.
There's nothing more old school than Golden Steer.
Okay.
Have you ever been, Megan?
No.
Okay.
It's come up on the list a few times, and I haven't made it, but...
Yeah, Rob was on the podcast, and he brought up the Circus Steakhouse.
Yeah.
But for me, I grew up at the Golden Steer. That was, that's nostalgic for me.
It's fantastic.
There's a few, like Batista's Hole in the Wall we haven't been to. We actually were going to go there. There's a few places we haven't been that have been here for a long time. So I think that's going to be like the next thing we're going to do is to go hit all the original places that we haven't tried.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, that Piero's is another one that I
that one's
like to
good.
go to. And what's the one? Now I can't remember the name of it or anything, but it's completely the same. Keep going.
We just
Delete that.
Yeah, we just keep adding to the list with every podcast. I don't know if like a ton of things have been repeated, but those are good suggestions. So it's Sunday. The weather's perfect. Sun's out. Sky's blue. What are you and Lola doing?
If Sunday, our Sundays are pretty routine. Wake up, Lola, come with me. We'll go to the gym. Get out of the gym, and then we'll go to breakfast at Cafe Lola. Mm-hmm. That's our regular Sunday breakfast spot every week now. And she'll get the strawberry shortcake waffles, and I'll get the acai bowl. Then we'll get one of those donuts. And then we'll do our grocery shopping. But then after that, we're home. So if it's Sunday, it's just a day to relax. Hopefully, if it's not windy, and it's getting into the season, I'll be outside of Aquamansion. Get some baseball games on that aren't blacked out, or watch a movie. Mm-hmm. And it's usually like some older movie. Like I love putting on older movies at Aquamansion, and I don't mean like older like from like the 80s or 70s. Like I'll go like way back.
Okay.
I've gotten really into. It's funny. So much of my life I kind of avoided some of these older movies because they're old.
Yeah.
Like Humphrey Bogart movies. Really gotten into those. What was I watching last weekend?
I just watched an old classic one. I'll have to think of what it was. Crap. Like I just watched Gaslight for the first time.
Okay, yeah.
In the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And then there's the other one where he's watching the neighbor in the binoculars. I can't think of who.
What's that, Rear Window?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a good one. Those are good. Yeah,
they're good.
Stuff, yeah.
Like sometimes you're like, and I love old movies, but sometimes you're like, it's old. Like the quality's not that great. And then you get in, you're like, these are actually pretty good.
Yeah, it was when I started doing work with the company that I mentioned that we do digital syndication. It's called Best Ever Channels. When I started doing stuff with them, I started really kind of getting more into the classic movies because I'm programming these, and I'm really digging it. I really love it. So.
All right. Well, send us the invitation for the next when you're giving tickets away for Aquamansion.
Yes.
Megan will make sure to RSVP.
Or we'll get a big headliner, big DJ headliner.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a thing. We'll all see if we can really see into the glass through the shower.
Not during the day, you can't.
Jason was so excited to show me that. The last time we hung out, he's like, look at what I did. I renovated my shower. He's showing me pictures. He's like, you can't see in there. Isn't that cool?
But you can't see,
but I can see out.
How many homes have you been in that have the shower in the window?
Yeah, I think it's unique.
It's kind of cool because I have a listing right now and there are windows and there's nobody behind, but people are like, well, how are you going to cover it? And I'm like, you don't.
Yeah.
If the people above you with binoculars really want to look in.
That's right.
Yeah, nobody can see.
So I have one question.
Yeah.
It's a really important one. What's your favorite soundtrack from like because I love old soundtracks. So what's your favorite?
How old?
Have a favorite?
What do you mean by old?
Any.
You're going back to like 80s, 70s?
Yeah, whatever.
Like okay, so.
Do you have a favorite movie soundtrack?
Yeah, I do actually. And it's going to sound corny as hell, but I think this was probably one of the first soundtracks I ever got was this movie. It's called Dream a Little Dream. It's got the Coreys in it.
Okay.
And it was not a successful picture. I think it totally was ignored when it came out in like 89 and stuff. And I didn't catch it till it was on HBO or whatever years later. But that was one of the first soundtracks that I bought with my own money. I remember that. And all the songs are very, I mean, you listen to them now and you're like, wow, this is just like 80s stuff. And it's just right out of the decade. And I guess you have to really, like I said, you have to be able to put yourself back in that moment. Like it has to bring back those memories. That remains one of my favorite soundtracks. My other favorite soundtrack is Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack, but that's my favorite movie.
Okay.
So
favorite movie, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, it's not The Godfather or anything like that. People ask, and
it's
they're
not
like,
cliche.
Wow, I thought you were going to say something that was big and on the AFI list. No, it's Beverly Hills Cop.
That's awesome.
No,
that's awesome.
I feel like whenever I ask you questions, it's like not the cliche, cheesy answer. It's something like old and obscure and quirky as it should be because it's you and you like it. That's what the quirk is.
I love that. It's unique.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for being on our podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, follow you, learn about Vegas from you?
Oh gosh, I'm on Instagram, Jason R. Latham. Really, that's I was on Twitter forever, and I haven't posted there in forever because now it's such a,
Yeah.
But yeah, Instagram.
But people can read what you're writing in a lot of magazines, right?
There are a lot of places where I write where I don't have my byline. So I do a lot of work that you would never even know it's me. And I mean like really interesting things that I won't get into here. And I don't like to actually talk about too much because if people knew that I was writing it for them, it's not the voice that they're looking for. But I've written for a ton of the places here in town. I mean, because when I started freelance writing was for Vegas 7, Vegas Magazine, Las Vegas. It had Vegas in the title I've written for it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I like that. If it has Vegas in the title, I've written in it. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Megan from the Ended Up in Vegas podcast. Thank you so much for watching and being part of our first 20,000 views on YouTube. We hope you subscribe, watch, and comment on our episodes because that's kind of how this thing works. So we can tell more people about what it's really like to live in Las Vegas.